Hello, everyone. Welcome back to yet another political episode. So, we got to talk about John Fetterman, who has been making the news in most recent days, specifically on a lot of the current events, like government shutdown, along with a potential Nobel Peace Prize nomination for Donald Trump. Is putting John Fetterman at odds with his own political party. Now, let me be clear with you. John Fetterman represents the last frontier. He's the last frontier of the average sane Democrat. He's the last one. Once he's out, the Democratic Party is done. It is done. It is a far left, Marxist aligned political party. And it seems as if, judging by the headlines, that the Democrats are going to do whatever they can to oust John Fetterman in the 2028 election. And it just looks like that they will probably be successful, because we already have a list of prominent candidates that are vying to run to throw out John Fetterman. Fetterman has already filed paper for a 2028 run, which is just 3 years ahead. However, he may as well, his job might be cut out for him unless he does something, which I will go over in a little bit. But you'll see that there's one candidate in particular that has expressed an interest in running. That is a congressman named Brandon Boyle, who comes from the 2nd Congressional District, which is basically Philadelphia. Okay, so Brandon Boyle, he looks like a youngster. He is 48 years old. He's not that young. But he is suggesting, and he's interested in running for the Senate, or he has expressed an interest in doing so, and they might as well force him to. But then again, Boyle represents more of the establishment Democrat. So I'm thinking that there is Summer Lee, who represents she's a part of the far left squad, who is a valid anti-Semite. She is a former member of the Democratic Socialists. I believe the far left is the AOC types. They're going to try to get Summer Lee involved. And Summer Lee is currently representing the 12th district, which is, of course, Allegheny County. And we can definitely put that in the list also. But yes, you have Summer Lee, who also is interested in running. You also, let's see here, you got Summer Lee. You got Connor Lamb. He is also a U.S. representative. So these are just a list of potentials. They have not mentioned running in this race. But I'm just saying, hey, look, the far left will do whatever they can. AOC, Jasmine Crockett, they're going to do whatever they can to get Summer Lee in and declare a run against John Fetterman. You got Connor Lamb, a representative from the 17th district. You got Malcolm Kenyatta. He lost horribly. Like, he was the candidate for the U.S. Senate. He lost badly. He ran against Fetterman in 22, didn't he? He ran against John Fetterman in 2022, and he lost terribly. Perhaps they probably regretted that decision. Oh yeah, Fetterman also defeated Lamb for the said seat. But they mainly voted for Fetterman because he was the lieutenant governor. But going specifically, there's Malcolm Kenyatta. We've already established the fact how bad Malcolm Kenyatta is as a candidate. Just look at this. He lost the college areas. He lost Dauphin County, which has Harrisburg College Community. Center County, which has the University of Pennsylvania. He lost down here, the Philadelphia Valley, Lehigh. He's barely winning Lehigh County. He's a horrible candidate. 45%, really? So, yeah, I want you to run Malcolm Kenyatta. Go ahead, do it. Run Malcolm Kenyatta. He's a perfect, strong candidate. But then there's also Chris Deluzio, who is he represents the 17th district. And it's important. Connor Lamb was a former representative, not currently in office right now. Austin Davis, the current lieutenant governor, and Maria Collette, who's from the 12th district. I personally think that's going to be a Summer Lee versus John Fetterman race. And I just want to really talk to you. Why is John Fetterman doing bad? What's he saying that's controversial? Well, Fetterman's not saying anything controversial. Fetterman is actually being logical. He's actually calling balls and strikes. So what he's saying is, yeah, we got to work with the president. We can't call the president this name. We had this stupid, pathetic No King's Day protest, which, what did they really achieve? Nothing. That's it. Nothing. It just exposed the Democrats' problem with boomers. Like, this is the main base of the Democratic Party. The people that will show up to these special elections are boomers. They are boomers. They are retired, old, frail, white people stuck in nursing homes, and they only come out of their caves when it's time to vote, and it's time for No King's Day. This is what the Democrats have in their base. Old, frail, white boomers. They're part of the old hippie generation. You'll see they've changed not one bit. But yes, you see, that was something that happened today, but it's stuff like that. No stupid No King's Day protests. It's stuff that Fetterman has been vocal against. Like, what's your agenda? What's your problem? Why are you blowing through like $1 million to do a protest just to virtue signal and to flex muscle? In fact, you're not flexing any muscle. You're not. Because the most muscle you flexed was in 2024 when you had this Kamala Harris brat fake energy raising over $1 billion in a week or something like that. That was the real energy, quote, quote. And it turned out to be fake. So why should people go ooh and ah over this? Stupid, right? The Democrats have become so nonsensical. John Fetterman has been vocal about calling out the Democrats for not shutting down the government. He is being bamboozled and being attacked by his own constituents for voting to keep the government open. And just now, we have a bunch of Democrats whining and crying, a bunch of women and men, or mainly women in this case, that are on SNAP benefits. And they're boo-hoo whining and crying. We don't have SNAP. We won't have SNAP in this coming November because of President Trump. No, it's not because of President Trump. It's because of Democrats. Because at the end of the day, we had a yes or no vote. We had the Clean CR bill on the table. You want to you vote for it or not? And the vote against it would shut down the government. Every Democrat except for Fetterman and Cortez Masto, those two Democrats, along with Angus King, who isn't a Democrat but an independent who caucuses with them, they voted for the CR bill. And again, the rest are just bull. They just say, oh, then they'll virtue signal, oh, this is so bad. People are going hungry. People are going. And they're like, hey, guys, it's just hilarious. This is how stupid it is. It's like, if I were to shut off a light, turn off the lights in my, whether it is a basement, it could be a hypothetical basement, kitchen, your own room, whatever. Let's just say, in this example, I'm turning off the lights for the basement. I turn off the lights, and then I say, oh, my brother turned off the lights, even though we clearly saw you turn off the lights. This is how stupid this is. We saw you vote against the government. Vote for the government shutdown by voting against the Clean CR. And then they go, oh, Trump's shutdown. No. Because in the end of the day, we had everything in place to prevent a government shutdown. And everything in place, all we need to do is vote for it. And the Democrats said no. And because they said no, the government shut down. That's how simple it is. John Fetterman knows this. John Fetterman called out his base on this. When you have Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski on our side and calling out the Democrats. You know the Democrats are in the wrong right now. Even Fetterman. We got all the Republicans and one Democrat senator agreeing that Democrats are responsible for this shutdown. If you want to go and whine and cry and boo-hoo whine and cry about Fetterman being a right-winger, he is not a right-winger, by the way. He is left as can be. He is a liberal. He is pro-choice. He is, I would assume, more for gun control. He supports gun control, more with LGBTQ rights. But here's the thing. I respect John Fetterman and his views with that. Why? Because, A, he knows, you would never know, there's a difference between his beliefs and a radical Democrat's beliefs. And it's the way how he presents them. He doesn't turn me off. He doesn't turn off random voters. These are ideas. And he doesn't go around and say, oh, you're such a stupid person for believing in this, for not believing in gun control. You're such a stupid fascist. You're a Nazi for believing that, for supporting life from conception to natural death. He doesn't do that. He is one of the very rare Democrats that wants to hear both sides. He wants to hear his Republican opponents, and he respects them. And you know what? I used to think Fetterman, going back all the way to 2023, was a crazy guy. But after that stroke, I'm not going to lie, he really, really, really has become more sane. Way more sane. And I mean, I disagree with the guy on most issues, but it makes me feel good to see one Democrat act sane for once. You got to admit this. You may disagree with Fetterman on every single issue, but you should be very pleased with him because he's not acting like a baby. He calls out the facts, and he's humble to call out his own side. Now, I will give the Democrats this. Far left, the populist leftists, just like we do, we want to get rid of all the establishment, right? That's always been their thing. The far left, the AOC types, Jasmine Crockett types. We're trying to get rid of John Cornyn next year. That's our goal, because John Cornyn's like the John Fetterman of the two Johns, the John in the South and the John in the North. John Cornyn, he's like the John Fetterman, Republican version of John Fetterman. We're trying to get rid of him. I mean, hey, look, fair game. But let's be honest. John Fetterman's what he's doing is not outrageous. And the fact you're trying to get rid of him for not being far left enough shows me that you aren't the moderate party like you want to believe you are. You are not the moderate party. You are the far left party. Now, I know a lot of people will think, what would a race between Summer Lee, I wouldn't think, would it be Summer Lee? I don't know. I think it would be a close one. But what would a realistic primary look like with John Fetterman? That is a good question. I would imagine in a Brandon Boyle race, let's do a Brandon Boyle, since he seems to be the one that seems to be expressing the most. A Brandon Boyle versus Fetterman. We'll do Fetterman and Green, assuming that he loses. And we'll talk about the other hypothetical scenario, that how Fetterman can overcome this. Because it's true. Fetterman has a 30% approval rating with Democrats and a 60% approval rating with Republicans. If I were Fetterman, I would be playing with the fact that, hey, you know what? it's the likely chances you're going to lose re-election either in the primary or the general election. In order to keep your job, hey, I mean, Fetterman, we respect your views and all that stuff, but politics-wise, if you want to keep this job, you might have to switch parties. It's a crazy thing to say. I don't think he's going to do it, but I'm just saying, I mean, you have a good approval rating among Republicans, very poor approval rating with Democrats. If you want to, your base is pretty much on the other side. You built a new base with conservatives and more of these Clinton Democrats. You got to move your base over there. And try to get the Republican nomination. You would be like an establishment Republican, very mild, moderate Republican. But I'm just saying if you would have to make that decision pretty like 2027, because once you do that, there's no going back. And assuming if Summerlee becomes the nominee, hey, you should enjoy a good time beating her up. Even with Malcolm Kenyatta. You better hope that Malcolm Kenyatta runs and wins the nomination. You should win kind of heavily under him. So, I'm just saying, if I were John Fetterman in this situation, looking at my base, it's more popular among Republicans than Democrats, I would switch parties and say, you know what? It's too risky. I'm either going to lose in the primary or I'm going to lose in the general. In order to assure victory, I need to run as a Republican. And I don't know, it's difficult, and it's not easy at all, guys. It's not easy. And I know this. We all know this. John Fetterman, all respects to him, it's difficult to go against your party. But I'm just saying, if he wants to continue to do what he's doing in the Senate, that's something that he's probably likely going to have to do at some point. So, you got Boyle. I would assume Boyle would win in the more lighter areas over here. Okay? And you would also want to put more ideological maps. Like, even the presidential Democratic primaries can help us, because, let's see, 2024 Democratic primary. We can look at the last Democratic primary to see what it looked like. Yes, you'll see. Yeah, Phillips, this isn't going to do much. Even with that. Yeah, okay, this is a bit better. A lot has changed in 2016, but you'll see the populist areas, the far left areas, or the areas revolting against the moderates, tend to be in the rural areas. So you could possibly see Boyle get in central Pennsylvania. But I do notice that Fetterman does enjoy some wins down in central Pennsylvania also. I would assume that Boyle would win in the college areas. Curious. I would have him win there. I'll give Fetterman these counties. Let's give Boyle counties all the way up here. Yeah, Boyle's probably going to win the majority of them, meaning that makes him the Democratic nominee, inevitably. But I would think it looks a lot like this. Even adding these two counties, I think looking at the patterns, Fetterman enjoys most of his coattails over here. We can even look at the 2018 election where Fetterman runs for lieutenant governor, and let's see how he does. Although his politics was a bit more radical. Yeah, he actually saw his energy over here, which makes me wonder. Like the Pittsburgh area, it must be coming from the Pittsburgh area. But even with the Pittsburgh area, you could see maybe this area. But I mean, he comes from that area. But I would assume that Boyle barely picks it up. Or something like that. Let's see, comparing this to 2022. Yeah, it's a little more lighter here. So I would assume that this is probably what the map would look like as of right now. Taking a huge guess on it. But what do you guys think in regards to this video? Let me know down below. And as always, I'll see you all in the next political episode.